find I get the most streams, I get the most people to my gigs, I get the most views on my social media content. All of these objective things just seem to go up when I have the most fun. And being independent makes it the most fun for me. I am Alfie Neale and I'm a singer, songwriter and producer from the southwest of England but living in Brighton, UK. Yeah, so my first influences of music was, I always reference this, it's my dad's car. He had this old Rover with a like one of those old tape things that you can attach like an aux cable to, and I always remember listening to Fatboy Slim, Gorillaz, Jack Johnson, as well as like actual tapes that he had for some reason, like Dean Martin and stuff like that, which is crazy stuff, but maybe brings out like the romantic side of me maybe sometimes. But yeah, I always reference those like 3 CDs in his car, and I really do think like my music does sound like a bit of a mix of all of those. Like I've got some dancey influences.
I met this woman, she had so much love for me. She said I sing too sweet for bars like this, some rooms like these.
I really love the low-pitched kind of like flowy singing that Jack Johnson does, and like Damon Albarn is just amazing. So yeah, those are probably my early influences. I played a lot of kind of indie music and stuff from like the age of 16, but then when I was like 17, 18, when I was in sixth form, I met this group of boys who loved soul music and yacht rock and like the Doobie Brothers and Hall & Oates and even like John Mayer and stuff like that, and that was when I was introduced to kind of like the more soulful stuff, which I think is a little bit more where my sound is now, but it's such a mishmash that I don't even know, you know. I kind of became a musician when I moved to Brighton for uni when I was 18. So I'm from Dorset. There was just no music scene in Dorset really, other than Bournemouth, which was still like an hour drive from me. And I was like the guy who played guitar and did music. And I was like, sick, well, this is easy. Everyone knows me as the guy who plays guitar. And then I was like, great, I'll do music. Moved to Brighton, and obviously everyone is the guy who plays guitar and does music. So it was a real like eye-opening thing. Yeah, it was, honestly, it was, when I was 16, I played in this band and we solely played, this is very niche, like instrumental covers of like AC/DC and like Ozzy Osbourne and things like this. And we literally got to the point where we were just playing these instrumentals, and there was 4 of us, and we were like, should someone be singing? And we all kind of thought we'd give it a crack, and I was the guy who was most comfortable singing, so that's literally when I started singing. But it's a pretty niche way to get into it, and also quite late in the grand scheme of things compared to a lot of people. But yeah, I just kind of like dived headfirst into it from there, really. I think in terms of Brighton having an influence, it's such a, like you say, it's such a melting pot of genres. Like, and I'm such a fan of just music in general. Like, I always say, like, I love all genres of music as long as it's good, you know. And in Brighton, you've got such a big dance scene, huge rock scene, quite a big hip hop scene as well. But there is like the neo soul, and there are pop artists. There's a lot of unis and music colleges down there. So yeah, it definitely influenced it. But I think it's quite serendipitous as well that Fatboy Slim's from there, and he was like a huge influence like of my taste in music, even growing up. But honestly, the only reason I moved there was because it was like a little bit further away from Bristol to my hometown, and like they're quite similar places. So yeah, I think it's more the place potentially and not the music scene that's had an effect on my music, because I'm quite a on my own producer and writer anyway, really. Yeah, my creative process is very introspective. I always joke and say like I have such a non-eventful life that like I really have to sit for a while and think about things and think about what's either bothering me or making me really happy or making me loving or whatever. And yeah, it's about finding that tiny little spark. You know, I always find myself, especially when I was early, like doing production, I'd find myself writing something great over someone else's song because like it's really inspiring and the production's great. And with myself, I take a really long time to find that spark because I'm, you know, tinkering between making beats and playing the piano and playing the guitar and things like that. So as soon as I find that thing that sparks an idea in my head or one lyric, then I'm off to the races. But it takes me such a long time. I always reference this thing that Ed Sheeran talks about, which is, he calls it like, well, I call it the dirty tap theory. So basically he talks about songwriting as turning on a dirty tap and on like an old tap, and you turn it on and some really muddy, horrible water comes out, and then slowly but surely a tiny little bit of nice, clear, pure water comes out, and then as soon as you keep going, it's really easy to write songs, you know. But getting in the swing of things, it's like, I think just getting into the swing of things, it's like going for a run after you haven't been for a run in like 3 months, you know. It's really hard the first time, but you just got to write some bad songs, and as soon as I've written some bad songs, the good ones start coming out again. The process of releasing my first song was the most just hilariously delusional thing. I was like, this is the best song that's ever been made. The reality was, I had a wardrobe in my first uni house, and I had my 2 speakers in the wardrobe, and I DI'd my guitar, I found some samples, I recorded this song, I thought it was like the best thing ever, and yeah, I put it out on YouTube and Spotify, and it was the first time that I'd ever even known what a distributor was or anything. I had to like figure out that whole thing and put it out. And to be honest, like I was at uni at the time, 18, all of my friends, maybe 19, all of my friends were like, this is the best tune ever. And you're like, oh my God, I think I got like 60 streams on the first day. And then like the next day it just went, and I was like, wow, this is way harder than I expected it to be, because even before, like, everyone was saying, this is amazing, and honestly, as the years have gone by, it's still exactly the same. You still think when you make a new tune that it's the best tune ever, and you have to be reality checked. But yeah, that was my first process, and to be honest, like, it was really enjoyable and really fulfilling, and that's what matters, you know. It didn't put me off releasing music. Okay, so firstly, the biggest challenges of being an independent artist are definitely, from my perspective, is definitely just foresight and planning. It takes so much to put a project together, especially independently, like all of the decisions you make, mix engineer, mastering engineer, who's going to produce it if you don't self-produce, if this vocal take is as good as the last, like you have to make decisions really quickly, which is really hard as an artist sometimes, you know. And I think as well, having the foresight for what's the next project or what's the next song after this. With an EP, for instance, 4 or 5 tracks or something, you put so much into it, and it gets to the end of the EP campaign and it's like, all right, what's coming out in 6 weeks now? And it's like, I hadn't even thought about writing what's next, let alone putting out what's next, you know? So I think that, especially with juggling live shows and admin and all of that stuff and all of the like trials and tribulations of doing other music industry stuff, that's definitely the hardest thing for me personally. I think the benefits of being an independent artist, yeah, as I said, I'm very much a not many cooks in the kitchen kind of guy, and I've always found, just personally, that there are some amazing teams, and I know loads of people with amazing teams around them, but for me, just personally, having too many cooks in the kitchen is just a recipe for disaster, because I'm too much of a people pleaser to say, I don't like that idea, or I'm not going to compromise on that. And then you end up compromising, and every musician knows it. When you put out a song or you do something and there's that one thing you wanted to change. And I've had songs where like I physically can't listen to the tune because I didn't change that one thing that I wanted to, you know. So I think the best thing about it is being able to make my own decisions completely on my own, you know, like, and I have a really creative brain over a businessy brain, and so much of it is just enjoying myself. For me, I find I get the most streams, I get the most people to my gigs, I get the most views on my social media content. All of these objective things just seem to go up when I have the most fun, and being independent makes it the most fun for me. So.